Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, we're continuing with our weekly series of shirim on the Ramchal's Adir BaMarom commentary to the Ijer Rabbah, and we're holding at the beginning of Parak Gimel, Hachanos L'Gilui Hasodos V'Seder HaIdra, preparatory stages towards Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai's revelation of the teachings in the Zohar. And what we spoke about last week were the words of the Idra, Lemigzar Milin de Keshoit, to cut away words of truth, Milin de Kadishe Elyoinin Saisalahu, words that the supernal neshamos and the tzaddikim and the malachim are coming down to hear from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, meaning to say there's a certain secret that's being revealed down below that can't be revealed up above, and therefore the neshamos of up above come down below in order to behold the secret, which teaches us the elevation sometimes of this worldliness over and above the next. The chadin lemishlamahu, and there's a joy and there's a great happiness in listening to the words of Rabbi Shimon, and not only listening to them, but coming to understand them. So we were talking about Milan Dikshait, true words, and the fact that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was drawing down Milan de Chachmasa, new hakdamos that were necessary for understanding the spiritual task at hand. And while typically there's Chidushay Torah, there's novelty in Torah that's coming down. Nevertheless, from time to time throughout history, HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals the secret of new milin de chachmasa coming down, meaning to say hakdamos hamesgalus mechadash, new introductions that will give us access to a new level of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence that we weren't aware of beforehand. And the chiddush of the devarim, the gezeres hamilin, they're cut off from the loftiest place. And we went into speaking about the role of chiddush HaTorah and the process in chiddush HaTorah, and how ultimately all chiddush is in truth coming from one place, and it's allowing itself to be reflected in new ways. And that's going to bring us to the next shlav of the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu. We know that the entirety of the Torah was given over to Moshe Rabbeinu, and that the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu is in truth the inner interiority of each and every one of the Jewish people. That the reason that we don't know the burial place of Moshe Rabbeinu Raya Mahemna is because ultimately Moshe Rabbeinu is buried within the innermost point of each and every one of our hearts, as the tzaddikim tell us. Moshe Shapir Ka'amart, what we find throughout Chazal is that they would refer to one another as Moshe, even though Moshe was not their name. And it wasn't a mistaken identity, because in truth, the formulation of thoughts that are emergent from the neshama, which is Osios Nun Moshe, the Nun Sha'arim of Bina that were given over to Moshe, and the aspect of Moshe itself, that exists. It is alive within the mind of each and every individual. That Moshe Rabbeinu is a chelek of each and every neshama in Klal Yisrael, and all of the neshamas in Klal Yisrael combine to create the fullness of the neshama of Moshe. And every ounce of wisdom, every ounce of drawing down wisdom is ultimately coming through the expression of Moshe Rabbeinu within each and every one of us. And each and every one of us have our own expression of Moshe Rabbeinu, which is our own os in Torah, which is the part of revelation that took shape at Har Sinai that only we have the capacity of bringing down. Each and every person in their own most personal particularization is conveying the secret of Moshe Rabbeinu, and it's our job to bring it out. That's where the Chidushei Torah are going to come from. And the reason that the Malachim are going to want to come to listen to our words of Torah, to come to listen to the words that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is awakening from down below, from a place of forgetfulness, is ultimately because the Malachim understand that in truth there's nothing to listen to other than the words of Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu's words are the koyach of the Torah, the shoresh of the Torah itself, the shoresh of Har Sinai, which is the mouth of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Sinai, which is the Malchus of Bina, as we're going to see, which gives birth to the Meichin of Zer Anpin, which enables the drawing down of the wisdom from above and the understanding from above down into the very kishkas, into the lived experience of an individual in their processing of Torah. And so we're going to see the words of the Ramchal, and it's going to bring us in contact with Nishmas Moshe. Anytime we talk about Moshe, especially by way of the words of Rav Moshe Chaim Lutzato, so we're encountering teachings about Moshe Rabbeinu, which were brought down from a particular expression of the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu in the secret of the Ramchal. And so we're not dealing simply with Divrei Torah about Moshe Rabbeinu. It's never just Divrei Torah about Moshe Rabbeinu. We're talking about a nitzutz of Moshe Rabbeinu that came alive within the neshama, within the Ramchal himself, and it's from that place that the Ramchal is being megala to us his neshama, which is the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu, which is the neshama of all the true tzaddikim, and we're grabbing hold of the chidushim that are coming out from the peh of Sinai. The reason that we're capable of reading words like this is because they emerged from the mouth of a tzaddik. Once words emerged from the mouth of the tzaddik, they came down through the vessel of Moshe Rabbeinu. Once they come down through the vessel of Moshe Rabbeinu, those words carry an ontological import to the degree that the entirety of existence is listening to them, because the entirety of existence is rooted, waiting for Matan Torah, and Matan Torah is nothing other than Moshe Rabbeinu revealing his capacity to draw down the infinitude of the Torah. And therefore, when we speak words of truth, when we connect ourselves to the words of the tzaddikim and become the mouthpiece of the tzaddik, we also become the mouthpiece of Moshe Rabbeinu. And in becoming a mouthpiece of Moshe Rabbeinu, then the entirety of existence is going to listen and hearken to the words, because that's what the entirety of existence is based on, waiting for Moshe Rabbeinu to complete what he needed to complete, which is the secret of Mahu Uma Shem Beno, that Moshe Rabbeinu is the light of Mashiach Tzidkenu. The Iker Giloi of Mashiach is going to be David HaMelech, which is the secret of Malchus, which is the secret of down here, down below, in the avoda of Tefillah, in the struggle of it all. That's the secret of Mashiach ben David. But the secret of Mashiach ben David is that he's going to hold within himself the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu. And that's the yichud of Moshe and David that the Rebbe was talking about last night by Shal Shudas, that when we draw the moichin of Moshe down into David HaMelech, what we're doing is we're drawing the highest light of above down into the lowest vessels, which are the Netzachod and Yesod of Zer Anpin, which are Mashpia moichin into Malchus, and it's from that place that the Peh itself becomes the revelation of the words of Moshe Rabbeinu. Zakt the Heilige Ramchal. Based on the words in the Idrabah, Milin de Kadishe Elyoinin Saitzuluhu v'Chadin Lemishmeluhu Lemindaluhu. These words that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who is a reflection of Moshe Rabbeinu, as we've said, that Emasai Ka'asimar, the Zohar HaKadosh, is always a unification between Moshe Rabbeinu and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Alisa Lamarim v'Shivisa Shavi Lakacha Matanos Libnei Adam. That Moshe Rabbeinu ascended on high to retrieve what? To retrieve the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu, because the true yichud is between the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, the light of Chachma, and the light of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, which is the light of Bina. V'amar milan kadishan elyonin saitziluhu v'chadan lemishmeluhu lemindaluhu. Words that supernal angelic forces are going to be commanded to pay attention to. They're going to want to attune their ear to hear it, and they're going to want to come and understand them. V'sod zeh mashakasav. The secret of the fact that the malachim want to come and hear these words is based on the pasuk in Shir Hashirim, Chaverim makshivim lekoilei chashmiini. That when it comes to the revelation of Torah, when it comes to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, when it comes to the tzaddik being Megala Torah, a natural outgrowth of this is going to be Chaverim Makshivim L'Koilech Hashmini, that there's always going to be the secret of the Chavraya, there's always going to be the secret of the Chavrusa, there's always going to be the secret of the Chaverim or the Chabura who are there to receive the words of wisdom that are being drawn down, the secret of the Chavraya, which are Chaverim Makshivim L'Koilech. All of Klal Yisrael is like the Chaverim of Moshe Rabbeinu, that we're listening to the words of Moshe Rabbeinu. And furthermore, we see another pasuk in Malachi that says, "Vayikshav Hashem v'yishma," that even Hashem, first and foremost, Kavyachal, had to attune his ear, and then he listened. So there's two types of levels, right? There's v'tzaitzi lahu, there's attuning the ear to listen, and lemishma lahu, and hearing. So there's attunement towards listening, and there's hearing. As we know, there are people who can be listening without hearing, but you can't hear without listening. Listening is the external preparation of the ear, the emptying itself out so that it is a kli worthy of receiving something. And then the hearing is the attunement and the inner listening that is not only making space, but drawing it down into an interior space. So there's the hearing, there's the hearing, and then there's the listening. The hearing is the external level, and the listening truly and listening intently is ultimately going to be the next shlav. And so we see in the Zohar HaKadosh that there's these two levels of preparing to hear and then actually listening. And we see in the same thing in Shir Hashirim, Chaverim makshivim lekolech hashmi'ini. There's the preparation to hear something, and then there's the actual process of listening. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu aligned himself to listen, and then he heard. And Moshe Rabbeinu also said to the ground and to the Shemayim, listen up to my words, because the words of the tzaddik are going to demand demand the listening ear and the hearing ear of the words of the tzaddik. Ha'azinu hashamayim va'adabera. And we see in the same way that just as Moshe Rabbeinu said, Ha'azinu hashamayim va'adabera, we see in Yeshaya, Shimu shamayim v'ha'azini ha'aretz. Ha'azini aretz. We see that Yeshaya also understood that reality needed to listen to his words of Torah, but the word ha'azinu we don't see applied to Shemayim like we did by Moshe Rabbeinu. We see it as being applied to the ground like Yeshaya. So this is what we're going to try and understand right now. Zok tehelig Ramchal. V'Rashbi atzmo amar acharkach l'shmaya le'ema de'yitziton. That Rashbi himself says to Shamayim, he says, I'm not afraid for you to be listening. Meaning to say that we see already the self-consciousness of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, like Moshe Rabbeinu, that as he's speaking words of Torah, he is fundamentally aware that reality is listening. Reality is listening. Reality, the Shemayim, the Aretz, the Malachim, everybody is listening. And Rabbi Shimon says, I'm not embarrassed. So what does this all mean? What does it mean, all of this supernal listening? I understand listening if it's a person right in front of me and they're hearing the words of my voice, but listening in an invisible type of way, and again, we touched upon this in the Zohar HaKadosh and the Sabbath Mishpatim, but it's like Rabbi Nachman said to his Talmidim that they should always be giving over Torah. And his Talmidim would say, but Rabbi, there's nobody here. And he said that somebody is always listening. So what is this invisible type of listening? And what are the gradations of the invisible type of listening? And what is it about Moshe Rabbeinu and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai that their words demand the listening? And so Zak the Heilige Ramchal. Hine Razal Amru. Chazal have told us, Shebesha shenasan HaKadosh Baruch Hu es HaTorah al Har Sinai, of lo af velo parach v'shor lo ga'a. That in the moment that Har Sinai took shape and that the Torah was revealed from above, the coal of the Torah was revealed from above, it wasn't just a coal amongst other coals, but it was a coal, it was a voice that by definition caused the cessation of all other sounds. It was a sound that was so saturating that even the sound of the birds stopped making sound and the sounds of the animals stopped making sounds. It's not that the sound of the animals and the birds were overtaken or overdone by the sound of Har Sinai, as if there was a cacophony of voices going on, but the voice of Har Sinai overtook all of them because it's its volume, but rather every other voice was negated because, as we're going to see, it was included within the words of Moshe Rabbeinu, within the words of HaKadosh Baruch Hu from Har Sinai. So what is this silence? What is the silence taking shape by revelation? The listening that's taking shape. Elakulam shatku v'hu sod gadol. The truth of the matter is that everything in existence was silent at the moment of the revelation of Har Sinai, just as we're seeing that everything is going to be silent in the moment of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai revealing the Idra. So we see that the Zohar HaKadosh and the Ramchal is bringing this out for us, that just as there's an equality between Moshe Rabbeinu and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, so too between Matan Torah and the Idra Rabbah, that these are revelatory teachings that are being given over that were not present or available prior to the revelation. Elakulam shatku, everybody was quiet. V'hu sod gadol, and it's a big secret. Da ki Sinai sodo hapeh shemisham yatsu kol hadibros v'kol haTorah afilu sheba'al peh. Dahainu Moshe kibel Torah miSinai. Ki Sinai hu yesod ima umisham yotzees kol haTorah besod hakolos. So what does it mean? What's taking place at Har Sinai? Moshe Rabbeinu is the one who's bringing Torah down to us. Moshe Rabbeinu represents the das of Zer Anpin. Moshe Rabbeinu represents the ability to draw down wisdom into the lower levels of existence. What exceeds that and what rests above that is going to be Ima itself. We've said that the Moichin, consciousness and spiritual awareness on the level of Chachma, Bina, and Das, the right brain, the left brain, and the corpus callosum, which unifies both of them, rooted in a unity beyond itself in the secret of Keser, those are going to be reflective of the Netzach, Hod, and Yesod of Ima that's mashpia down into Zer Anpin, right? Because the mother gives over the capacity of her lower levels so that the child can now develop its own self-consciousness and develop its own sense of self. So the Netzach, which is the lower right side of Ima, becomes the Chachma of Zer Anpin. The Hod, which is the left side on the lower aspect of Ima, that becomes the Bina of Zer Anpin. And the Yesod of Ima becomes the Das of Zer Anpin. And we know that the Tiferes, the Shnei Shlishim, or the Shlish Ha'elyon of Tiferes, becomes the Keser of the Tiferes of Bina becomes the Keser of Zer Anpin. So all of the Moichin of Zer Anpin, all of our capacity to receive anything, for Moshe Rabbeinu to receive any insight, to draw down Torah, Lamata, to Bnei Yisrael is being drawn from Sinai itself. What does it mean? Moshe kibel Torah mi Sinai. Moshe received the Torah from the Yesod De'ima, from the place above the parts of Zer Anpin, where all of the Moichin of Keser, Chachma, and Bina are being mispashet down to that place of the Yesod De'ima, which is the Nekudas Tzion, and that's the place that Moshe Rabbeinu was drawing the Torah from. That's Har Sinai. Umisham yotza'as kol Torah b'sod kolos, and from there it emerges into the voice of Torah, which is the Moichin of Bina that are descending down into Zer Anpin, which is Moshe Rabbeinu's voice. Because Sinai is the light of Bina that is descending down to become the Moichin, which express themselves in the voice of the Torah. And it was only the soul of Moshe Rabbeinu which was prepared to receive this and to draw this light down. So Moshe Rabbeinu is drawing down the lights of Bina down into the territory of Zer Anpin. That's what Kabbalah Satorah is. V'zeh sod gadol, says the Ramchal, and this is a very big secret. Ki milvad ma shekol ha'ma'oros nitchabru b'nesina satorah, gam ha'ein sof yisparach shemoy nigla b'chochma stima'a u'misham b'tiferes dezah, ma she'efshar lihigalos. So the Ramchal says something very, very important here. He says when we're looking at what's happening by Matan Torah, we can only look at the external and say, okay, Moshe Rabbeinu, who represents the parts of Zer Anpin and the Das of Zer Anpin, the Das of Moshe, is receiving just like every parts of receives from the lower quadrant of the parts of above it. So Zer Anpin is drawing its Moichin down from the Netzachod Yesoid of Ima, which is going to be the Chachma, Bina, and Das of Ima. And that's going to be what the Torah is, drawing down from Bina into Zer Anpin. But if we only look at the Torah in that way, so then the Torah is no different than the typical drawing down of Moichin, drawing down of consciousness and spiritual awareness that is rooted in the lowest level of the gradation above us. So it's just Netzach Yisoid and Malchus of Bina, which are now going to become the Moichin of Zer Anpin, and Torah would just be receiving from the realm of Bina. But we understand that in truth, in the inner interiority of the Torah, that's only the externalization of the Torah. Because what is revealing itself within the Torah at every moment is not only the external moichin of Bina being expressed into Zer Anpin, but the hidden light of Chachma is nested within the womb of Bina. And the hidden light of Chachma descends down into Bina, undergoes a process of concealment, and then it expresses itself within the Moichin of Zer Anpin. So even though externally the only place that Zer Anpin or Moshe Rabbeinu is receiving Moichin from is the Nahi of Bina, which would mean that we're just drawing down the inside of the Torah from the womb of Bina itself, devoid of the infinite light of Chachma. The truth of the matter is, says the Ramchal, what's happening at the heart of Matan Torah is that yes, Bina is being mashpia Moichin down to Zer Anpin, but within Bina itself, within the womb of Bina itself, which becomes the consciousness of Zer Anpin, is the secret of Chachma Stima'a. Chachma Stima'a is the concealed mind of Chachma itself. It's the capacity of Chachma to descend downwards, lamata lamata, so that it can allow itself to express itself within Bina. Because as we've spoken about and as we've touched about in the past, that Chachma is referred to as the Chachma Stima'a because it contains within itself the Gevura of Atik Yoimin. The Gevura of Atik Yoimin is the secret of the Butzina de Kardenusa, the original space in which separation and minimization and particularization begins to take shape within the womb of Chachma itself, the Bina within Chachma. But at that lofty place, we still don't have access to it. It's considered the Chachma Stima'a, which operates underneath the Golgalta, which is the light of Keser, which holds the Aviradachya within it, which is the illuminated light of clarified air, which roots everything back into the Chaykat Tov L'Hetiv. But the Chachma Stima'a, as that Arizal says, is why, because the Gevura of Keser is resting within it, so then Chachma itself can be seen as something that is susceptible to this being drawn downwards. That Gevura orientation towards Chachma, that Lamed Beis Nesivos Chachma, the splintering of Chachma in its unified whole prior to its disintegration in the realm of Bina, but it's still the preparatory stage in which Chachma begins to take on certain Kalim. This is what we spoke about in the Shir Under of Tzadok in terms of drawing down the Chaya, which is the Olam Ha'atzilus, into Bina, which is drawing the light of Chachma into Bina so that we can actually experience the Torah not only on the level of Bina, which are the lower quadrants of Netzach, Hod, and Yesoid, becoming the Chachma, Bina, and Das of Zer Anpin, which is the external nature of the Torah, but rather being fundamentally aware that within the Har Sinai experience of the Hamshacha of the Moichan of Bina down into Zah, we're also grabbing hold of the Chachma Stima'a, because the Chachma Stima'a, which holds within itself the Gevura of Atik, which is the Busina Hardenusa, which are the Pratim of the Torah, which is the secret of Eish Das Lamo and Mipiha Gvura, that the entire Torah is the diminution of the infinite light by way of conveying that infinite light through the dissemination of the particular letters, so that the infinite light is still graspable, but nevertheless it is expressed by way of particularization. The light of Chachma Stima'a that rests within the Netzach Hod and Yisoid of Bina that's being mashpia down to Zah is what gives us the full expression of the Torah. That's a secondary element of the Torah, not just the words of the Torah as they're conveyed to us by way of our understanding, which is Bina being mashpia down to Zah, but rather the infinitude of the Torah, the Ein Sofiyut of the Torah as a reflection of the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Torah as the Kav or Ein Sof Kav Yachal itself, as the Rashash says. That's a secondary, more interior element of the Torah, which is the Chachma of the Torah, and not only the Bina of the Torah. So now let's look back at what the Ramchal is saying, that Sinai, Sodo Hapesh Misham Yatsu Kol Hadibros V'Chol Torah. Sinai is the Malchus of Bina, which is the secret of the mouth, because Malchus is always the mouth, which is the place that all of the Torah comes from, even Torah Shebal Peh. Even Torah Shebal Peh, all of Torah Shebal Peh, all of the Torah of Rabbi Akiva is contained within the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu already. Hainu Moshe kibel Torah misinai. Moshe receives the Torah from Bina. Ki Sinai hu yesod de Ima. It's receiving the moichin from Ima. Shemisham yotza'as kol haTorah b'sod hakolos. That netzach hod and yesod of Bina becomes the moichin of Zer Anpin, which is the place of the kolos haTorah. But in truth, it's only Moshe Rabbeinu who has the worthiness and the right to give over the Torah. And this is a big secret. Why? What was it about the neshama of Moshe that was unique? Because theoretically, if it's only Bina, then anybody could draw down the Moichan of Bina into Zer Anpin. What is it unique about Moshe Rabbeinu that had to draw down the Torah and that nobody else could? So Zak the Heilige Ramchal, ki milvad masha kol ha-me'oires nitchabru b'nesinas ha-Torah, that in addition to the fact that all of the me'oires, the Netzach Hod and the Yisoid of Bina were mashpia down into Zer Anpin and they became the Moichin, that's not the end of the story, because Gam ha'ein soif yisparach nigla b'chachma stima'a u'misham b'teferes dezah masha efshar ligalos. In addition to the externalized revelation of Chachma, of Bina, hidden within the Keser of Bina, which is that shlish of the Teferes of Bina, is going to be the Chachma Stima'a, the Gevura that is hidden within the Chachma, which is the secret of the Butzina de Kardenusha, that then goes down and it imparts itself within the womb of Bina, and then those Gevuros of Bina, which came from the Chachma Stima'a, which is always already reflective of the Ayin, which is the light of Ein Sof Kavyachol. So that descends down from the Keser of Bina into the Teferes Dezah, which is the Das of Moshe Rabbeinu. So in addition to the concealed revelation of the particularized details of the Bina, there's also this residual light of the infinitude of Chachma itself, which is the Chachma Stima'a, which is expressing itself within the Keser and the Das of Teferes Dezah, which is Moshe Rabbeinu. L'chein, HaTorah ein lo hamara v'chiluf klal. It's for this reason that the Torah is unchanging, because if it was just the Hamshachas HaMoichin from the Netzach Hod Yisoid of Ima down into Zer Anpin, then theoretically there would not be such a fundamental unchangeability and a perpetual eternal nature to the Torah itself. It's only with the secret of Nitzchias that comes down by way of the light of Chachma Stima'a, which is really the Panemius of Chachma, which is the Panemius of Atik Yomin. It draws down that infinitude, that infinite residual light of that which cannot be expressed in words down into the Torah, ensuring that there's absolutely no Hamara or no Chilaf Klal. Because if it's only in terms of the Nahi, the Ima, that are Maslabish and Zer Anpin, so then a person might see it as if it's changeable, like any other situation where the Kalim are Mechuluk. But when we draw down the light of Chachma Stima into it, and we realize that it's not only Mipi Gvura, but there's the Meimei HaTorah, there's the Shira of the Torah, there's the infinite light of the Torah itself, which reflects that the Torah is just the trace of the infinite. Now that ensures that no matter what we can possibly begin to understand from the Torah itself, we haven't even begun to understand it, because all we've understood is the externalized nature of the Bina of it, the Netzach Hod and the Yisoid, which are Mashpia down into the Moichin of Zah, and they become the Chachma Bina and Das of Zah, and that's where it seems that a person can complete something. But from the perspective of Chachma Stima'a, which is the Hisgalus of the Or Ein Soif Kavyachol Yisparach, so in that place we find that no matter what we've come to understand, we haven't understood anything. And the secret of what all of the tzaddikim say, the Gra, the Baal Shem Tov, the Rashash, the Ramchal, that Torah Hashem Tamima, the Torah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still perfect. And even after all is said and done, after all has been written, after all has been revealed, nevertheless, it's still as if it is completely perfect and it has not yet been touched yet because the hidden light of Chachma Stima'ah and the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu rests within the Torah. When it comes to the Kalim, when it comes to Netzach Yisoid of Ima that are mislabish into the Chachma Bina and Das of Zer Anpin, so in that place it's reflected as the Kalim, and there's shifting and there's changing from one way to the other. But when it comes to the light of the infinite that is mislabish within the Chachma Stima and then descends down into the Luma of Bina to become the Das of the Tiferes Dezah, which is the mind of Moshe Rabbeinu, in that place there's unchangeability. In that place there's the perpetual residual light of Nitzchias, which demands no change whatsoever. We've already explained this earlier in terms of the shift between the lights and the vessels, that the vessels are changing, but the lights are never changing. And over here, the vessels are the Nahi Debina, which become the Chabad of Zer Anpin, which is just the Sinai itself, but the unchanging light is the Chachma Stima'a, the Ein Sof Yisparach Shemo, that's Nigla within the Chachma Stima'a, and from there into the Tiferes Dezah, so there's this residual light of unchanging infinitude that perpetually keeps the closeness of the Torah alive and open in itself. V'hinei, legiloi gadol kazeh tzarich nishama muchenes v'rak nishmas Moshe huzos. Now we can understand why we need such a heilige neshama, because if it was just the nahi debina kavyachol, as if that was an actual possibility, then theoretically it doesn't have to be Moshe, because that's shaykh to any level of nevuah. But because Moshe Rabbeinu was a unique neshama that was capable of drawing down not only from bina but from chachma itself, in the secret of min hamayim mishisuhu, that as the tzaddikim say, Moshe Rabbeinu comes from a shmita koidem. Our shmita is the shmita of gevura. Our shmita is the shmita of severity. Moshe Rabbeinu shmita, he comes from a place prior to our time, which is min hamayim mishisuhu, which is the watery nothingness and the meimei ein sof, prior to the or ein sof, so to speak. That Moshe Rabbeinu is drawing down the loftiest level of that infinite light of the Torah, and therefore it's specifically him who has the ability of bringing it down. Specifically, this neshama that is prepared for to begin with, and it's only the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu who has this capacity. What was it about Moshe Rabbeinu? V'hu inyan hamash is his karnu lamala. She'amru lemoshe de begin de machshava dila chaves la'ela sa'ilois shavi bein bach machshavte di ihu yud hey vav hey. So the Ramchal is referencing back to what we learned earlier in the Hakdama. What was it about Moshe Rabbeinu that gave him the capacity of drawing down that light of not only Bina, but the Chachma Stima'ah, which is the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealing itself within the finite expression of the Torah? It's what we described when we said, Oisoisenu loy ra'inu, that velo yodenu adma, we have not seen our signs. There's still our signs, but we haven't seen them. Velo yodea adma, and the Ramchal brought down 4 biurim on what adma means, and one of them was that it's the chut ein sof kavyachol, that's maskala kavyachol within the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu, to the degree that Moshe Rabbeinu, the tzaddik yesod olam, is drawing down not only from the level of arich, but he's drawing down from the level of atik. He's drawing down from atik yomin minamayim mishisihu, and it has the ability of drawing down that malchus ein sof kavyachol, to draw that and schlep that down into the Torah itself. And that's the ma of Moshe Rabbeinu. V'anachnu ma. Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't just saying ma, he was saying ma to the degree that he was drawing down the highest nitzutz. He was drawing down from the chut and the kav of Or Ein Sof Kav Yachol to draw it down into his slabshus in the lower level of Zer Anpin, which is the Shem Havaya of ma as well. We know that Shem ma, Yud Vav Dalid, Hey Aleph Vav, Hey Aleph is the parts of Zer Anpin, and it's the lower parts of. But what we're saying over here is that it's specifically within the parts of Zer Anpin that Moshe Rabbeinu is Megala, that he's also drawing down the loftiest levels of Atik Yomin, which is the secret of Atiku Huzav Zahu Atika, which is the secret of the Ijarabba. And therefore, this Ma that Moshe Rabbeinu is drawing down, which is the Chut of Or Ein Sof Kavyachol, that is being Nimshach into Metzias itself after the Tzimtzum, Moshe Rabbeinu becomes a Merkava to that, and he draws down all of that insight down into the Havaya Dema on the level of Zer Anpin. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu has the unique capacity to draw down the Torah. The Torah is concealed with the depth of revelation and infinite revelation hidden within it. So to the Shema of Moshe Rabbeinu, it appears to be concealed and the lower name of Shem Havaya in the secret of Zer Anpin, but in truth, it's also holding within itself the chut and the kav of Or Ein Sof Kav Yachol. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu is the one who's worthy of drawing down the Torah, because he has the vessels both for the concealment of the Torah and the infinite depths of the Torah. Moshe, the trained motion, that there's no hefsek bein shnehem. And this is what the Zohar Kadosh means in Chelik Beis when it says, "Begin the machshava dila chavis le'ela sa'ilois shavi b'cha machshavte di'u yod he vav he." So this is the Zohar Kadosh. It says, Moshe Rabbeinu, because your thought goes all the way, all the way, all the way up to the source of all sources, meaning to say to that original shape of Ma Kavyachol, which is the level of Atik Yoimin, that place of Reshad Lois Yada, that lofty place of Min Hamayim Mishisuhu and Lo Yodea Kimahu, we didn't know what it was, and that unknowing of Moshe Rabbeinu, that thought of Moshe Rabbeinu, because his thought goes all the way up, it becomes a receptacle for the real thought of the Torah, Machshavte Di'u Yud Hey Vav Hey, which is that ability to draw that infinite light down all the way down into the Kalim of Zer Anpin itself, into the Teferes Dezah, which is the Torah of Moshe. The Torah of Moshe is the secret lower revelation on the Darga of Zah, but drawing down the highest levels of that Ma HaKoidem, L'chol HaGiluyim, which is that secret of the chut of Orin Sof that the Ramchal describes earlier. And it's for this reason that Moshe Rabbeinu had this interior kli to hold on to the invisible part of the Torah, as the Zohar HaKadosh says that Klal Yisrael are sasam v'galui, and the Torah is sasam v'galui, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sasam v'galui. The gilui part of it is the nahi de bina that's being drawn down into the chabad of Zer Anpin, and then down into the Teferes of Zer Anpin. The sasam of the Torah is the secret of the Or Ein Sof that's being drawn down from the Chachma Stima'a, that's being drawn down all the way down to the Neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu, and that's why we say Moshe Yedaber v'ha'elukim ya'anenu b'kol, that we see that there's almost a repositioning of the valence in what's taking place by Matan Torah, that Moshe is the one who's speaking, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one who's answering to Moshe to a certain degree, and it's this secret of listening, ha'azinu ha'shamayim, that the Shamayim is listening to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu had the bittul that his words of Torah were drawing down words from above itself, that even HaKadosh Baruch Hu was listening. Because what we have to do is we have to connect Sinai and Moshe. Sinai is the Netzach Hod Yesoid of Bina, and Moshe Rabbeinu is the secret of Yesoid the Abba. Yesoid the Abba is the Hamshacha of the Chachma Stima'a min Hamayim Mishisuhu, which is the Yichud of Chachma and Bina, and we know that it's Pnimius Chachma, Pnimius Atik, so it's drawing down Atik all the way down. It's not enough to receive the Torah from Sinai. Sinai is the Nahi, the Ima, and from that place we don't have all of this fundamental unchangeability and depth to the Torah. It's only when we have that Chibur of the Chachma within the Bina, and we're drawing down the Chachma into the Torah, which is the Yichud of Sinai, which is Bina with Moshe, which is the light of Chachma, and then we have that ability to draw down the entire Torah for Klal Yisrael. Misham yotzes kol Torah l'kol Yisrael, and it's only from there that the entirety of Torah comes into the body of Klal Yisrael. When there's a chibur between Moshe and Sinai, Moshe and Sinai, Chachma and Bina, not just Sinai, but Moshe and Sinai. Moshe kibel Torah mi Sinai. Moshe, which is the secret of Chachma, is makabel the Torah from the secret of Sinai, from the Darga of Bina, because Chachma has to go down into Bina, and then it comes out to all of Klal Yisrael, the Teda. And we have to know, Sha'afilu kol masha talmid vatik atid lechadesh nitan l'Moshe miSinai. And the entire secret of the unfolding process of all of Torah has the ability to connect itself back to the source of Sinai and also back to the source of Moshe miSinai. We can attach all Chidushay Torah that each and every person is going to convey. Every machshava, every dibor of Torah, every chidush in Torah is an element of a person having a hislabshus and a nitzutz of Moshe within their minds. And when the mind is processing information, and when the mind is engaging in the battles of Chachma, Bina, and Das, and the Shakla V'Tarya, and the Milchamos mitzvah of the machshavos, which is utilizing our roimach and our charev and our spears and our keshet and our kitra, all of the different weapons that we use in the mind, that pagisha of the mind, that is the hitznoitzitzos of Moshe Rabbeinu. That's the machlokas of Shammai and Hillel, which is taking place always in the mind of Chachma and Bina, which is Rosh Tevos Moshe. That's what's mi bein shnei hakruvim. The two kruvim are colliding with one another in the secret of the betisha, between the collision of opposition that gives birth to the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu. This Moshe Rabbeinu, this neshama of Moshe, is the light of all particulars that is expressing itself to be the revelation of the Klal Kulo. It all is coming from Moshe Rabbeinu. It's all coming from Sinai and Moshe. Anything that is true in Torah, anything that is real and rooted in a fundamental rootedness in Torah. And the truth of Torah doesn't necessarily mean that it's a maskana that's absolutely true, but it means that the svara is yasher, as the Or Chaim HaKadosh says in Yanim of Machshava, that as long as a person has a svari yeshera, that is true. And we know in Torah Sanigla as well that the pilpul is also fundamentally part and parcel of the avodah of the limud itself, whether or not it results in the exactitude of the halachic principle, because Eilu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim. But any true word of Torah, there is no word of Torah that descends in any way other than the unification of the Kalim of Bina, which is Sinai, the Malchus of Bina, the Netzach Yisoid of Bina, which become the Chachma, Bina, and Das of Zer Anpin, and the secret of Moshe, which is the drawing down of the Chachma Stima'a, which is the infinitude into the vessels of Bina, and from there down the Mata into the parts of Zer Anpin. V'hinei ba'oso hazman nitain begiloi liyisrael hachelek shahayu ra'yi lehem. At that moment, at the moment of the revelation of Torah, each and every chelek of Klal Yisrael received that which was appropriately set aside for them. Each and every person in Klal Yisrael had their own chelek of Torah that they had to draw down into reality. And each and every generation has the prescribed nature of Torah that is meant to be drawn down in accordance with the neshamos of the Talmidei Chachamim, which are the Merkava to Moshe Rabbeinu, which is why the Chachamim Chazal is Gematria Ma. It's gematria ma in the sense that it's complete and utter bittul, and that's why Chazal say to each other, Moshe Shapir Ka'amart, and it's Zichru Taras Moshe Avdi, V'hakol tzarech lios alidei Moshe, but it's only when a person is mevatel their das to the das of Moshe within themselves. A person can draw down Torah from the nahi of Bina within their minds and have the ability to bring Chidushay Torah into their Zar Anpin and to speak it out, and everybody could hear those voices. But if it's not holding the depth of the light of Moshe Rabbeinu and the Nishmas Moshe that's mislabish within the mind of the individual by way of drawing down that chachma stima and that absolute bittul on the darg of pnimius chachma, pnimius atik, then at that point the chiddush Torah is not going to be fundamental. Rather, it has to be rooted not only in Sinai but Moshe as well. Besoid zichru Torahs Moshe avdi, that a person has to remember the Torah of Moshe, my eved, and that eved is higher than the darg of a ben. It's not the eved that's koidem the ben, which doesn't understand. It's the darg of a ben that does understand, and then the decision of a ben sheneshapech liot ka'eved, as Rabbeinu tells us and the Rebbe Rashab tells us in Samach Vav, that the darga of Moshe is that he chooses in the end of the day to be mevatel himself b'tachlis habitul, and that's how we have to draw down the Torah. Kihu mislabush b'neshamos hatamidei chachamim va'al yado mitchadeshes haTorah, and it's only by way of the bittul to enable our minds to become the vehicle which can contain the soul of Moshe that is being expressed in this particular point of expression of Torah as the person aligns themselves. Only then can the Torah actually undergo a real chiddush, a real expression of the infinitude that rests at the core of it, which is the perpetual hischadshus of it all. And this is the secret of the joy and the gladness that comes into the Torah when it's given the way that it was given by Har Sinai. Because when it's given the way that it's given in Har Sinai, it's not just the externalization of the Nahi Debina that are Mislabish and the Moichin of Zar Anpin, which are limited by nature, but rather it's the Moichin of Abba that are Mislabish within the Moichin of Ima, and then they come down into Zer Anpin, and then we're able to hold on to that light of Moshe within our minds, which is the radical and utter bittul, which is rooted in the Chachma Stima'ah, which is the Hiskalis of the Orient Soif Kavyachol. Zok the Heilige Ramchal v'oidicha bekan Sod Gadol. And now I'm going to teach you a very deep secret. Each and every neshama receives the chelek of Torah that it is meant to reveal. If that's the case, and all of the neshamos of Klal Yisrael are kolol in the neshama of Moshe, and all of the neshamos of Klal Yisrael received the Torah in the time of Har Sinai, and each and every neshama received its particular point of the Torah that only it can reveal, then it turns out that the entirety of the Torah and the entirety of the world cannot be completed until each and every person has revealed their own particularized chelek in Torah. But if that's the case, then how in the world is the Torah ever going to be filled? Because we don't live in a Metzias where each and every person is sharing their chelek of Torah. Acha emesu, says the Ramchal. She'al ze amru, with this it says, Shemoshe hu kaved peh v'kaved lashon begalus. The secret of Moshe Rabbeinu is that Moshe Rabbeinu can't speak very well in Galus. Moshe Rabbeinu has a difficulty speaking, has that speech impediment. He's kaved peh, there's a heaviness, there's a silence that weighs down his speech, and the mouth of Moshe is not opened yet. In the time of Rashbi, we had an element of pasach picha v'ye'u dvarecha, because of the light of Rashbi that saturated the generation. And in the Dor Hadeya, we had the mouth of Moshe Rabbeinu. But the mouth of Moshe Rabbeinu in exile is concealed, and not every word of Torah can come out. And that's why the Torah is impoverished in certain places. V'ha'inyan ki Sinai hu hapeh. The mouth of Moshe is Sinai. It's the Nahi de'ima. And the reality is that that mouth of Moshe should be opened, and Kimitzion Tetzei Torah Udvar Hashem Yerushalayim, and the Torah should be perpetually flowing forth like the mouth of Moshe. And this is what would have taken place had Moshe spoken to the rock. But because Moshe hit the rock, now the water only comes out drip by drip and drop by drop. Really, had Moshe Rabbeinu spoke openly, Pasach picha v'yir dvarecha, the entirety of the Torah would have come out, and it would have been the secret of the Pardasan Shel Tzadikim, the Pshat Remez Drash Sod, and the Neshama, which is the Razin Derazin. But but because Moshe Rabbeinu tried to fix everything at once and didn't have that ability, so to speak, to wait and to have the necessary patience for the light of redemption to take its full stance. And Moshe Rabbeinu tried to include the Erev Rav internally, and we're going to see how that's eventually going to be the biggest tikkun in the world. But that caused the concealment on the Torah. That caused the fact that the mouth of Moshe is not wide open, and there's going to be elements in Torah which are not understood, and there's going to be halakim in the Torah which are not revealed, and there's going to be a deficiency externally in the revelation of the Torah which is going to cause a tremendous chilul Hashem. And just as we see in the Chet of Hakasa Sela, in truth, all that comes out is little drops of Torah. And this is what the Chachamim and Karev B'Yavne were afraid of, that the Torah is going to be forgotten, not because the Torah can be forgotten when we're drawing it down from the Chachma and the Bina of Moshe Rabbeinu, but mitzad the Bina, when Moshe Rabbeinu's Koich of Chachma is not in there, so then it's going to be drop by drop, and it's going to seem that something is going to be forgotten. And forgetfulness comes from the Moichin of Bina alone, but the Moichin of Chachma are Moichin of Zikaron, they're Moichin of memory. And all of these elements of the Torah, which are still stuck in exile, Eliyahu Hanavi, like we saw in Shir Hashirim, he has that secret of speech. He comes to announce the arrival of Mashiach Tzidkenu. He comes to unify Mashiach ben David and Mashiach ben Yosef, which are going to reveal the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Raya Mehemna, which is mislabish in the mouth of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And eventually, Eliyahu Hanavi is going to come to be mashlam all of the halakim in Torah. And then Moshe Rabbeinu is going to open up his mouth. And then we're going to come to understand all of the secrets of Torah. And then we're going to have the Suda of Lav Yasan. And all of the lights are going to come out for us to partake in and to find the secret of satisfaction. And this is the secret of the Gilui, of the fullness of the Torah, the Shir, the Az Yashir Moshe, that secret of the Rina Shel Torah, the unification of every part of Torah. A Shir is the unification of Chachma and Bina. The dissonant chords are the Bina of it. The consonant chords are the Chachma of it. And it's specifically when Chachma is drawn down into the Kli of Bina that we have the ability of drawing out the Shir HaMeruba, which is the Shir of the Torah, which is the Shir of Tchias HaMesim, which is the Shir of Moshe Rabbeinu, the Chalil of Moshe Rabbeinu. And we have to understand and we have to know. Ki kol hadavarim lamala na'asim b'shir. Everything that takes place above, it's not by way of conversation, it's not by way of linguistic dialogue, but rather it is by way of song. It's not by way of prose. There's a song at the heart of every word of Torah, because that's the secret of transforming words of Torah into tefillah. That everything above takes shape by way of shir, because shir is the up and the down, the waves of Ratzah v'Shov, of Chachma and Bina, Chesed and Gvura. Anytime anything expresses itself externally, it's always by way of song. The shiras halavim, the preparation, a shir, the spontaneous joy of the soul as it extends outwards. It doesn't necessarily have to be a song as we understand it, but it's the musical notes of human experience, which is playing upon the deficiencies and growing with the flow of up and down. A song that is singular in its nature is not going to be a good song. A song is the collection of all of the disparate points of expression, which mold together to create a sum total than greater than its parts itself. And that's the secret, that everything comes out by way of a song. What is shir? Shir is the dveikus, the connectivity of all of the different and individualized points that yearn to join together by way of the pleasantness and the joyful connectivity that comes with that by way of the gvuros themselves. There are those who sing and there are those who listen. Hainu kikol mishahu muchan umistavik b'shir hahu umistavik lamala. Anybody who is prepared, anyone who has attuned themselves to that song and has become someone who can reveal their song, their chiddush in Torah, they connect themselves above and they begin to be the one who's mashpia the Torah. And this is what's written in the Tosefta. Pitchin psichin udnin. That's the process of people opening up their ears, attuning themselves to the inner song and drawing down that song afterwards. And each and every person is going to receive the song of the Torah in accordance with the awakening of their own ear, with the awakening of their own bina to draw down the neshama of Moshe, which is chachma, down into it. There's always songs. Every neshama is always singing. Every neshama is always drawing down its singular song, its singular ownmost song of tshuva, of Torah. And that's what it means when a person attunes themselves to their inner song and attaches themselves above to the neshama of Moshe, and they then draw their song down for others to listen. But there's a different level of a person drawing down their own song, which is the words of the Torah itself becoming the song. When the words of Torah are drawn down, the Torah itself becomes the song, and one need not sing their own song because the Torah itself is going to be the song. Like in Beit Shemesh, when the Aron HaKodesh was stolen and placed on the backs of the Paros themselves began to sing. The secret of Beit Shemesh, the secret of returning the Aron Kodesh back to Yerushalayim, is the secret of the Rina Shel Torah, where existence itself starts to sing. V'hinei al zeh ne'emar, and on this it says, Yikrahi mibipnimim. It's more valuable. It's more valuable than even the most pleasant values. It's more valuable than anything in the world. Lo ya'archenu zahav v'zechuches, and it can't be measured in gold or in silver or in gems. V'zeh nira shelo haya ra'i la'aseh sa'ar erech. Why are we even beginning to compare the Torah itself to some lowly metal that, in spite of its value, it doesn't rise up to the level of the Torah? Obviously, the level of the Torah is greater than these lowly metals. Kima inyan the Torah elo hadavarim. What relationship does the Torah, which is rooted in the infinite, so to speak, have to do with these base materials? Acha emesu, but in truth, the matter is, ki kol hadvarim ha'ela him madrigos ma'iris yakarim lamala, v'soidem liha kesef liha zahav. We're not talking about gold or silver. We're talking about the giluyim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zahav, for example, represents gevur, represents the tzimtzum, represents the elevation of kalim in the future when it's revealed that the kalim are revelatory of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light more than the oros of chasadim. The kesef is going to be kisufin, it's going to be love and connection, it's going to be the desire for overflow, and it's going to be that light which feels that it's above the vessels, but even the vessels are receiving from that light. The Torah itself is higher than both of these. The Torah is the light of Tiferes Dezah. The Torah is makabel from the Chachma Stima'a, and it holds the infinite light, and therefore it's greater than kesef and zahav. It's greater than Chachma and Bina. Ach yakar haTorah gadol mikol yakar. It's greater than all greatness. It's more valuable than all value. Why? Because it comes from Moshe Rabbeinu. It comes from the Hoin of Moshe Rabbeinu. It comes from the Psailacha, from the Psailas Yeshalcha, that the shavings from the Luchos themselves that Moshe Rabbeinu was able to hold on to was the source of all of his Ashiras, the light of Keser, the light of Oisher Amiti, the light of Ashiras Bedas. And when we draw the light of the Torah down, it has control and power over all other revelations. There is nothing that stands in the way of the light of the Torah. And every other song, the Ophos, all of the Giluyim in the world, they stop, not because the Torah is forcing them to stop, but because the Torah contains all of their songs within it, like the tree that holds space for all trees. Everything has its own call. Everything has its own need for fixing. But every need for fixing is fundamentally rooted in this relationship between the light of Moshe and Har Sinai and the revelation of the Torah emergent from that place. Now, we want to say that everybody has their own chelik in Torah, and that until the mouth of Moshe Rabbeinu is revealed, so that Torah is not going to be revealed in its full expression. But the Ramchal is hinting to another reality of what's taking place by Matan Torah. There's the element of Vayitvatzvu b'tachta sahar, Vayityatzvu b'tachta sahar, and there were some who rested underneath the mountain. So it doesn't seem that they were receiving Torah from the panim of Har Sinai, but rather they were receiving it from the achorayim of Har Sinai. Ve'ela ein lahem koyach lahitzi dvarim b'koyach Sinai. These are neshamas that don't have their strength to reveal their teachings by way of Har Sinai. Elahem ha'aros mu'atosh she'ein lahem kol kach koach. What they are smaller koach that that don't have a real koyach. Aval misha mitzo besod Sinai kamay Rashbi hine kamay shahaya az shekol shar hashirim shaktu lefnei haTorah ki hakol tzrichim lios nechlalim ba. There are certain tzaddikim who operate from the perspective of Sinai itself, and they're opening up a new light of Moshe Rabbeinu, and that's why the entirety of existence, or the entirety of the door, is going to have an attunement to this particular tzaddik. So most neshamos are stuck in the darg of kvedu sapeh, where they're not able to reveal their chelik of Torah yet, and in our generation, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is opening, he's min nisan pislein peh, we have a pislein peh, because it's pasach picha v'ya'ir dvarecha. Now is the time where each and every neshama has the ability to reveal their chelik of Torah. But Rashbi is a tzaddik on the level, and the Yechidei Ador is a tzaddik on the level of Moshe Rabbeinu himself, who's opening up his mouth and revealing his words. But then there's also going to be neshamos metach sahar, and these neshamos are different than the neshamos that have not yet revealed their chiddush Torah that they received from on top of the mountain. Tach sahar are fundamental revelations that are small in their nature, which are not the derech harabim, which is not the shviel hazaha for most people to go on. But there were always, as the Vilna Gaon points out, and certain teachers in our generation, their memory should be a blessing, that there were certain neshamos that felt that there's a way of uncovering the Torah of Metach Sahar as well. And those neshamos do what those neshamos need to do. But what the Ramchal is hinting to is that not to mistake that for the main thing. Those are ha'aros mu'atos she'ein lahem kol kach koach. They don't have such a profound light. But the real avodah is to be like Rashbi. Hine kamo shahayaz, just as it was in the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, shekol shar hashirim shatku lifnei Torah, that all of the noises of the world silenced themselves. The malachim stopped doing anything because they came to hear the singular voice. This is what's happening by Rashbi as well. Ki hakol tzrichim lios nechlalim ba, because that's the secret of the unity. Everybody could say their own bina dekapis, but if they're not going to attune themselves to the light of chachma that's coming down from Moshe Rabbeinu himself, then their bina is going to be separated. So if someone who's a bina orientation doesn't know how to silence themselves in the light of the chachma that they're receiving from, so then their bina is going to be yispardu kol playavin. It's going to be a separation. Only when we hold the light of the infinite, which is mislabesh within the chachma stima, and then it goes into meyo de bina, which is the secret of the butzina de kardanusha, which holds the light of the gevura de atik, and then we can understand drawing down the light of the Torah in its particular way that holds the all in it as well. We know that really the culmination of Bria was waiting for Matan Torah itself, because the light that was revealed by Matan Torah is the light that all of us are now drinking from. And when we are able to bring our particular Gilui into Metzias, it's Moshe Shapir Ka'amart. We have just received the soul spark of Moshe Rabbeinu engaged within our own das, drawing down from the Chachma Stima down into the Nahi Dabina, down into the Tiferes Dezah, which holds the light, and it can be drawn down all the way down to Eitzos Pshutos on the level of Netzach and Hod. That's the avoid of receiving the Torah from Har Sinai. And that's why all of the sounds were quiet. And this is what the Zohar Kadosh says in the beginning of Shemois. Din hu Rashbi de Beshaisa de Pasach Puma le Mishrei Malel Ba'araiso Kulan Meshtachachin Adelo Yishtama. That we see, just like Moshe Rabbeinu by Har Sinai, the Zohar Kadosh says that when Rashbi opens up his mouth to teach words of Torah, everybody was silent. Not out of respect, but out of the deep sense that there's nothing else to be heard. Adelo Yishtama, nothing else was heard. V'hinei Moshe Amar, Moshe Rabbeinu said, Ha'azinu Hashamayim va'adabera. Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to the Shamayim, and he directed his words to the Shamayim, the Klal. V'lo shachach lo have tamid. Ki behayosim megala Torah, v'lo shakach lo haya tamid. Ki behayosim megala Torah tamid hayakach. Ki hu shene'emar bo, v'ha'elukim ya'aninu b'kol. So when it says about Moshe that Ha'azinu Hashamayim va'adabera, don't think, says the Ramchal, that was only by Ha'azinu itself. This was every moment that Moshe Rabbeinu opened up his mouth. Anytime you revealed Torah, it was always this way, because Moshe Rabbeinu was the one that we just said, Ha'elukim ya'anenu b'kol, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is attuning himself to his voice. Why? Because it's that light of Chachma that's being drawn down into Bina, and it's the residual lights of the infinite which perpetually are shattering any possibility of separation. So it wasn't only a singular time, it was all the time. Elaha inyan. So what's the inyan? Shedivrei Torah v'hanevuos ne'emarim lefi ha'aros ha'meiros u'lepa'amim kolim ha'aros ha'meiros beklal u'lepa'amim portim beprat. So words of Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu was revealing were revelatory of the ma'orot, the sparks, the revelations, the partsufim, and the arrangement of the partsufim in the world of Atzilus that are taking shape in that particular moment in alignment with the particular refinement of the individual and the time and the space that they find themselves in, is so too going to be the experience of the neshama from its nitzuts that's coming down from the olam of Atzilus each day. That light that comes down from Chachma through Bina down all the way to Malchus to Atzilus, and it goes down, down, down into the worlds of separation at night. And that's the place that we have to rectify and be mavar everything. And then the encounter that we have with our physical lives and our spiritual lives, all of the processing that we go through in a day, being mavar the broken pieces of our lives, elevating them back up to a place of refinement, connecting it in the light of the infinite and drawing down new moichin. Each and everything is taking place in each and every day. And the words of Torah that are being revealed are going to be reflective of those lights that are being revealed. And there's times where the Torah is going to be speaking in a general space where it's conveying general ideas, the klalim, the big ideas. And there's going to be times where the Torah is speaking in particularized forms, like we just saw in Parshas Mishpatim, that there has to be a ve'ela, that Eila comes to add the particularities. U'lachein kan giloi Moshe b'dvarav mashu harigilus la'asos besod haTorah shehu megala. What Moshe Rabbeinu was revealing at this moment of Ha'azinu is simply what he truly is always going to be doing by way of his Torah, which is that I'm going to be speaking first and foremost to the Shamayim, and the Shamayim, the Klal, is going to hear, that everything listens. That's not the Chiddush, but what they're listening to from Moshe Rabbeinu are the Klalim, the general principles. Aval Yeshaya lo amar ella shimu Shamayim v'ha'azini aretz. But Yeshaya and the later Nevuos, which are lower than Moshe Rabbeinu, which are the Aspaklaria Deloi Nuhara, he says that I'm going to be speaking to the ground itself. Ki Hashem diber, right? Because the ground itself are the pratim, the individualized particulars of that Torah that's coming down. But the Torah in its generality and its klal is always coming from Moshe Rabbeinu. Ki Moshe haya oise bekocho. Moshe did everything that he could do, and because Moshe was who he was, he opened it up to the level of Chachma, which is the Me'oros Bechlal, which is Ha'azinu Hashamayim Va'adabera. But Yeshaya, why could Yeshaya only say Ha'azinu Aretz? Ki lo haya oise ele bekocho shel Moshe hamaslabesh bo. Because he wasn't Moshe, and all he was doing what he could do through the engarment of Moshe Rabbeinu within himself. And umoitzi hadavarim b'soid shem Havaya, and only then he had the ability of drawing those words out through the shem of Havaya, which is the secret of Zer Anpin, that secret place where Zer Anpin is containing the light of Moshe Rabbeinu. Va'al kein lo yiksha lecha Moshe she'amar ha'azinu hashamayim va'adabera. And it shouldn't be a question to us why Moshe Rabbeinu says to the Shamayim that Shamayim, you should listen up, and I'm going to speak. And then we have over here Rashbi saying, L'shmaya lo ema, I'm not afraid of Shamayim. How could it be that Rashbi was saying, I'm not afraid of Shamayim, and Moshe Rabbeinu, even Moshe had to ask? Ki Moshe lo asa zel chidush davar ulitzarech ala adrab megala derech ha'oros. Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't awakening anything. Moshe Rabbeinu was just revealing the typical way that the Torah was going to come down by the tzaddikim amitim, ma'be b'shar davar of loy pirish, that which he didn't explain elsewhere. V'kan v'parshas ha'azinu, and the reason that Moshe Rabbeinu is doing this by ha'azinu is sheretz lahaniach liyisrael sheyira la'ad. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted Klal Yisrael to receive the chachma in its particular form at that moment, and that's why Moshe Rabbeinu was expressing what he was doing. And that's also what was happening by Rashbi himself, because we're showing that Rashbi is not like Yeshaya, who's different than Moshe Rabbeinu, who's only receiving by way of Moshe, but Rashbi was tapping into the derech of Moshe himself, and that's why the same reaction is taking shape for Rashbi as it did for Moshe Rabbeinu. We're going to see the equality between Moshe and Rashbi. V'nimsa shahaya roitza sheyachlu ligzor devarim gedolim b'soid Sinai v'Moshe she'az kadisha elyonin saislahu. So we see now these very small words from the Ijer Rabbah are really giving us a deep insight into what Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai wanted to do. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai wanted to reflect the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, and just like the light of Moshe Rabbeinu, which receives the malachim's attention because of its klaliyut, which is drawing down the grand unity of the Chachma Stima and the bittul of the infinite light of Hakadosh Baruch Hu, so too Rabbi Shimon wanted to reawaken and re-encounter that same process by way of the shir, by way of the generalized shir. And like we said, this creates a profound joy. There's a profound joy. The simcha is when the or is miskala. And when the unification of the or that's been miskala and the kalim that are there to hold the or, that's the shir that comes from the simcha. But the simcha is the emergence, the giloi. the Gilui of Har Sinai, the Gilui of the fact that there is a HaKadosh Baruch Hu who is revealing his wisdom through our minds at each and every moment, and the wisdom that is revealing itself through our minds is not just information, but it is insight that formulates and shapes the very nature in which we reveal reality to ourselves, to others, and to the world at large. Ki Simcha Harishona, there's two forms of doubled simcha. First, there's the shmiya. First, there's the speaking. First, there's the willingness for a person to hear something. And that's the secret of the opening up of the ears. And then there's the actual listening, the drawing down of the insight into the kishkas, onto the level of Zer Anpin. And at that place, the light of Moshe Rabbeinu gets drawn down into an actualized expression, which is what brings joy in this world. And therefore, the Chadan Lamish Lamahu, Simcha Aleph, they were so excited and joyous to be prepared to hear this, Ulamindalahu, and to properly know it. That's the secret of the light of Chachmas Tima'a going through the Netzach Yisoid of Ima being mislabesh within the Chabad of Zer Anpin and drawing itself down into the Tiferes of Zer Anpin, which is the Shem Havaya Dema, which holds that infinite light of the Maha Elyon, which was the Chut of the Orient Sof Kavyachol, and the secret of the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu. When we attach ourselves to the Torah of Moshe, we're attaching ourselves to the Nitzchiyas HaTorah, and we're drawing the Nitzchiyas HaTorah into the vessels of David Malka Mashiach, into the brokenness of Malchus, and in that way we're going to have a Geula Krova, and we're going to have a Geula Shlema, which is the Hiskalus of the Torah Chadasha Me'ititise, which is the secret of drawing down Moshe Rabbeinu into every ounce of separation that we encounter in our lives, Be'ezras Hashem.